Good morning, and welcome to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
We welcome you to Talk of the Town for this Monday, January 18th. I'm Gary Stevens. We'll be open line following the 10 and 11 o'clock news blocks. Patty Vandenberg will be joining us in about an hour with what's new around Howland. In our 10:30 segment, we'll be chatting with State Senator Roger Victory, who represents Ottawa County in the state Senate. But in our first half hour on this third Monday of the month, we talk with the first-term Republican who represents Allegan County in the state Senate. He is Aric Nesbitt. He joins us via the Zoom connection. Aric, turn off the mute, and we will be able to hear you A-OK on our Zoom connection. Aric, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on again. And I still the laptop wasn't working right, so now I'm trying to use the phone, and I'm looking forward to just driving up to Holland again sometime soon, and just sitting down and having a cup of coffee with you and listening to all that's going on. But hopefully that's sooner rather than later.
I certainly agree with that. If you have a question for State Senator Aric Nesbitt, he'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450, 395-1450. Some serious things we do need to broach with you today. And by the way, first of all, Happy New Year. It's the first time we've had a chance to chat during the new year. Aric, first of all.
Yeah, I can't believe it was so quick when I looked at the schedule. So
yeah, indeed. First of all, no House or Senate sessions this week. There wasn't any votes planned. So to a certain extent, it really, having this week away from Lansing because of the tensions and the credible threats to the Capitol, according to state police, and the Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey, it's keeping the senators away. Your thoughts about the fact that, hey, you can't go to work this week?
Well, I am planning on working. I mean, I'm on Zoom calls. I have another one after this. I have meetings this afternoon, talking with constituents, replying to their emails. Going back through, I would chair the Advice and Consent Committee. I'm working through the Regulatory Reform Committee. I chair that one, looking at the oversight schedule for the subcommittee I chair on appropriations. So this is something where we got started last week. The second Wednesday of January is the official opening day of session for the state legislature, and it's provided in the state constitution. But as we saw about 10 days ago, just sick in my stomach what happened to the U.S. Capitol and the threats that were made to in Congress, and I'm very saddened and still heartbroken by all those actions, and it's frightening. It's really outrageous of what happened. Every person who entered the U.S. Capitol needs to be tried, needs to be brought to justice, and I think there's an overwhelming sense of caution right now. And it's very unfortunate. We had a whole summer of cities burning. We had cars being, tipped over. We had police stations being overrun, federal courthouses surrounded throughout the summer. That violence is horrendous and bad. Same with the violence that we saw 10 days ago. And I think on MLK Day, I think we should take a little self-reflection, see how we can work a little better, whether in our own family, with our own neighbors, with our own community. And just take also a reminder that we don't look to Lansing nor Washington for our salvation. Our salvation comes from a higher being. Our Lord Jesus Christ is in control. And I think we need to take a little self-reflection on that and take a deep breath. I'm not saying there aren't serious issues that are out there and that need to be addressed and we need to work on accomplishing, but I do know that we're only salt of the earth here, and we need to be able to try to, at the end of this, be able to be told, well done, good and faithful servant. And that's the perspective that I think all of us need to be taken on. I suppose after the insurrection 2 weeks ago and what happened in the stopping the counting of the electoral college votes, that there is quite an abundance of caution, and it's just sad to see. It's devastating to see the fencing and National Guard out, and this is, we've had 230 years of peaceful transition of government, and my goal is to have another 230 years of peaceful transition of government.
Aric, I'll ask you flat out. Are you concerned for your own safety when you do go to Lansing? When I said you're not going to work, I mean, you're not going physically into Lansing, but you are still working. Are you concerned about your safety in the legislature right now?
No, I'm personally not. And I know that the Senate Majority Leader and Speaker and have to look out for everybody instead of each individual. I'll probably be up in the office once or twice this week, to be honest with you. I'll probably I have work to do, and I'm going to continue to do that work for the people. And as you said, we just got bills introduced. The Senate does have their committee assignments. The House still doesn't have their committee assignments yet, and so the legislative process is just getting going.
Question from one of our listeners. They heard a report that the Senate Majority Leader, Mr. Shirkey, met with 3 militia groups to, quote unquote, help them out. Have you seen those reports? Your thoughts about that?
No, I have. It sounds like a lot of folks, as we know in the media or on the internet, and I'll ask him about it. I have a meeting with him later, a conversation later today, but let's fact check this stuff before going on. I know he, last April and May, when tensions raised quite a bit, I know he sat down and chatted with a lot of people to try to bring down the tensions and try to make sure that people concentrate on the fact that we depend on the ballot box in America. We don't depend upon violence to affect change in America. Period.
Peg has a question from the newsroom. Go ahead.
Well, no, I just wanted to follow up. You talked about fact checking. Michigan Advance, which is a Lansing-based publication, says that they actually fact checked this. They said a month before the 13 men were charged by state and federal law enforcement officials, Senator Shirkey had a sit down with the leaders of 3 Michigan-based militias, and they've quoted him as saying he was in Lansing and the leaders, or he called them so-called leaders of the 3 groups, met him in his office and, quote, we talked about their messaging, their purpose, and what they're trying to accomplish and how they could improve their message. And actually, Michigan Advance is quoting a on-air appearance he made with JTV host Bart Hawley. This was in a September 10th interview. He went on to say, Senator Shirkey did, it is very fascinating and they're not uniquely different than you and I. They bleed red, white, and blue, but they feel like they are not being heard, unquote. And Michigan Advance did follow up with Shirkey's office, and they haven't gotten back to Michigan Advance at this time. So that's where that information
Well, I
from.
don't personally talk to Michigan Advance either, because they're a left-wing liberal publication out of Lansing run by very progressive individuals. So, it's something where I do think, where is the reporting coming from and who is it? Michigan Advance has a definite political agenda, has a definite point of view of a left-wing point of view that's out there. I'm not sure on all the facts that are there, but I look forward to, chatting with the Senate Majority Leader on it. But it is something where it is important when quoting stories, whether it's from the free market conservative base, Mackinac Center, or the left wing progressive Michigan Advance, that I think it's worth noting in on each side of what their perspective is and where they're coming from.
Yeah, I think JTV is a conservative outlet. But you're right.
No, JTV is a public access TV.
But the show Bart Hawley is very conservative. But
I don't know. I've never watched the Bart Hawley show.
I've seen episodes because that's where I see Senator.
I don't get that. I don't get that in Van Buren County. So
Okay.
Okay, let us move forward. 395-1450, 395-1450. If you have a question for State Senator Aric Nesbitt, he'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450. Let's talk about what happened last Friday. Budget estimating conference. And, whoa, $3.2 billion in surplus, or $3.7 billion. I think it was a lot more than a lot of people might have thought. Your thoughts about that report when it first came out?
Well, I sat through the CREC. It's the Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference. And this is when economists from the University of Michigan, Michigan State University, the Treasury, House Fiscal Agency, and the Senate Fiscal Agency. So pretty much it's a best guess estimate on where we're going in terms of the economy, state and nationally, where we're going in terms of job creation, where we're going in terms of the budget. And this is what we build our budgets off from. This is something where it's a reminder that that headline is one-time money. A lot of that money is one-time money because of what was made last year in terms of the COVID stimulus funding. And it looks like there could be some more federal monies coming forward. But this is something where if you have one-time money, what do you do as a family? Usually pay down debt. You usually do a one-time infrastructure improvement, such as fixing your house or doing your basement, or you put that into savings, or you give it to charity or give it back to the taxpayers, if you will. And so I think that's the challenge that we're going to have, is some people want to make structural changes on this one-time money. And when you make structural changes, you're going to increase the cost and size of government in terms of long term. And I think over the last decade, the reason why we have this announcement is through smart budgeting decisions, because we've paid down debt, because we've made structural changes to our budget to make sure that we follow budgetary guidelines. And as a result, the balance sheet that shows available funds, but we must be cognizant of the fact that the money is not recurring source of income. And so I'm saying that we need to either pay down our debt, we need to either return it to taxpayers or those that are closed down. We probably need to provide some relief to some of these restaurants or bars that were forced to close down, and that can be one-time relief, or forgive their license for liquor or something like that to make sure that we provide a little relief there. And I think we can look at infrastructure, whether it's roads or bridges, and put some money into some of this stuff. But federal relief is not sustainable revenue source, and we shouldn't rely on federal funds to balance our budget while the governor continues to shut down much of our economy. And so we gotta look at the long term here.
395-1450, 395-1450. If you have a question for State Senator Aric Nesbitt, and you alluded to it just now, saying that there might be more federal money on the way. Nice to be able to have that as a safety net. You made a good point, though. Can't rely on it all the time. And it just seems like some of the decisions that are coming out of Lansing is, reliant on bailing, stuff being bailed out by Washington. And sometimes you've got to, we got to take care of this all ourselves.
Well, and this is the reason why the Constitution clearly says that the legislature shall pass a balanced budget every year. And that's something where that's a challenge. And I took a pledge to uphold and defend the Constitution of Michigan and the United States. And that's something where we have to look at making sure that it's balanced the long term also, to help future legislatures. And this is something where it's very concerning at the federal level. They were looking at over a 3-year period, nearly $5 trillion. That's with a T. $5 trillion of added debt, and that's without potential stimulus that could move through Congress next month and the following months. And so this is very, I think, in terms of longer term, what kind of inflationary pressures are going to happen. I think a lot of folks today do not remember the inflation of the 1970s and the early 80s and what it meant for the cost of living. And that's what, that somebody's gonna have to pay for, someday. And so I do think that we need to be responsible. We need to get people back working, and we need to make sure that productivity is back in the American sector so that we can support some of these priorities, such as education and our healthcare and our roads and bridges.
Good morning. You're on the line with State Senator Aric Nesbitt.
Good morning. I am wondering if there's any talk of our legislature growing a backbone and doing something to rein in the governor and her cronies. We all know that the head of the health department has no medical background whatsoever. He was a lawyer. I don't know, maybe somebody does, what kind of a Dr. Calhoun was. I have a feeling probably not an infectious disease doctor. And we know that since she appointed them, they're just her puppets. And I know there's not much we can do right now, but is there any talk of somehow reining in and not having this happen again, whether it be a governor like this one or a governor, any other governor? Yeah, it just seems like, Michigan is a dictatorship, and this country was not built to be a dictatorship. And I'm wondering if at some point the legislature is going to grow a backbone and stand up and figure out how to fix this. Thank you.
I appreciate the call. Thank you very much, Eric. I hope you were able to hear the comment.
Yeah, it was a little broken up, but I'll address a few things. One is that when she was using the 1945 law last year and told the legislature that we weren't critical parts of state government, that we could go home, she had it taken care of. There, at the beginning of May, we filed lawsuit against the governor. So did a lot of other private individuals. And we saw the ruling by the state Supreme Court last fall on the fact that she did unconstitutionally overstep her bounds with using the 1945 Executive Powers Act. And so, one, she had to work with the legislature on a lot of statutory changes, and we updated it. But now what we found, and this is something, is that the DHHS, the Department of Health and Human Services, and she's right, Director Gordon, I don't think he had much of a healthcare background, but he's been ordering a lot of these orders, which again, he's an appointee of the governor, so it's essentially the executive office doing it. And as we saw back in November, she extended her, she created a 21-day pause, and now it'll actually be 75 days. During that time, an untold number of small family businesses really have been closed, their doors, and a lot of them for good. And while spending much of 2020 closed, thousands of small businesses in Michigan made really tremendous investments to ensure they could reopen safely, 50% capacity, providing social distancing. You saw plexiglass being installed, trying to really take personal responsibility. And yet Governor Whitmer refused to let them open and stay open, even though the data shows that these businesses are not a prominent source of the virus spread. In fact, Michigan's only one of a handful of states that has restaurants closed right now for sit-down purposes. And even what they said, the data and science that they were depending on back in November, that means they should have been open weeks ago, because of the dropping 7-day case levels, the dropping 7-day hospitalizations, the dropping 7-day rolling averages on deaths. And so with that, you saw the chair of the House Appropriations Committee 2 weeks ago says no more funding through the legislative process in terms of until she reopens the economy. You saw the Senate Appropriations Chair last week says we're not going to confirm any more of your appointees until the economy's reopen. As you know, there's a legislative, a judicial, and executive branch. A lot of restaurants filed lawsuits back in November, both in federal and in state court, to try to stop it. They were turned down. There's not been a successful one yet. The legislature, we've provided oversight hearings. We've pushed some of these issues right to the forefront. And I think with the third extension that we've seen, that enough's enough. And we've tried to be as we've tried. I just don't think it's there anymore, any of the cooperation.
2 points I want to bring up, and I want your response to them. One would say, we have this new strain of COVID-19 that is more, you can catch it easier than before. And because this new strain is going to be eventually in Michigan, apparently we already have a case already. That's the reason why some of this things is being extended. The other point is, is a lot of these measures aren't so much meant to stop people from, because of a health reason. They want to ease the load on our health facilities because they're almost at full capacity. Your thoughts about those two arguments I've heard on this entire situation?
Well, then have the governor explain that and set that down. She doesn't. And instead, she just uses partisan political posturing to continue to push her message of public relations and political science instead of using real data and science. Because I've been asking what data and science has she been using to say, what was it? Movie theaters can open, but you just can't serve popcorn, or food. What's the data and science on that? And you go back, casinos could open the beginning of August. They're open again now. But yet little arcades couldn't open. I mean, it's been a whole consistency, and that's been the challenge, is that there's been a huge lack of trust that have developed with this governor in terms of the decision making that's there. And in fact, our first bill in the Senate that was introduced last Wednesday, Senate Bill 1, which would give was introduced. This would allow DHHS to react to emergencies while requiring and receiving legislative approval of any extensions beyond 28 days. So again, it would allow DHHS to do the immediate response, but anything longer than 4 weeks or 28 days would require legislative approval. And that, I think, would return that balance of power and provide some more trust to the people, as saying, if it's truly for the sake, health, and well-being of our citizens and our families, absolutely we'd extend it. But if you're not able to share that science and data with the legislature, with the public, in terms of how your decision-making process is there, then no way.
Now the question is, the science and data, isn't that generally available maybe through the CDC, or is there something different that maybe nobody knows about?
No, she's not saying. There's a lot of data that's out there. There's a lot of data that's available. But what is she using to make the decisions of what's open and what's closed? That's something where I've sat through over 60 hours on the Joint COVID Committee last year with over 120 people that have testified in front of our committee, dozens of administration officials and people from different departments. And not one of them would say what specific data and science they're using to determine what industry opens and what industry closes.
I wish we had more time to take a couple of callers that want to chat with you, Aric Nesbitt. Unfortunately, we are coming up towards the top of the hour, and we do need to take a break, as they say. He is State Senator Aric Nesbitt. He joins us every third Monday of the month to talk about some of the issues going on in Lansing. Aric, I want to thank you very much for joining us this morning on WHTC's Talk of the Town. Wish you and your family well. Hope all goes well over the next month or so. And if we, Lord willing, let's do this again next month in February. Aric, thank you.
Sounds good. God bless you and all your listeners.
Thank you very much, Aric Nesbitt on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.